Okay. So what we are going to do today is that we are going to understand a dashboard. All right, fine. So we have a classic data, which is a sales data over here, and this sales data is complete. Okay. So I suggested to you that if you wanted to do this dashboarding, try it on a real life data. So this is a real life data. It is a data of a company which is selling some items. Okay. And in various regions and countries. So looks like this is a very big company. All right. And then you have the order dates and shipping dates. So order ज्या दिवशी ऑर्डर केले गेले शिपिंग ज्या दिवशी त्यांच्यापर्यंत पोहोचलेलं आहे ते the sales are offline, online, and other channels also which are available. So that is there. You are just considering that the units are the whatever units were purchased were completely sold. So there is no stock or inventory over here. That is the assumption over here in this particular data. And you have the details over here. The total profits आहेत, profit percentages आहेत, profit margins आहेत. All right. So this is some real life data. So once you understand that this is a sales data, now let's actually start preparing a dashboard. So what is a dashboard? It gives you the financial status of a particular company, right? So here it is giving you the financial sales status of the company. All right, fine. So now the first step of creating a dashboard. So I'll give you some steps, just write down those steps also. The first step of creating this particular dashboard is that you have to identify the key performance indicators. Identify the key performance indicators. They are also called as KPIs, key performance indicators. Okay. Now for this company, if you look at and key performance indicators, you're going to find it from the uh, columns. All right. Now in this, as a company, if you look at this, you would like, if you are the owner of this company, you would like to have a clear picture in front of you, right? So the first thing that you will try to find is region wise, what is my profits? Okay. You can also check out with uh, sales. Okay. So revenues is one of the important indicator and profits are another indicators. So mainly a company is more concerned initially with what are the total revenues and what are the profits which we are having, because that is what the business is all about, right? So mainly total revenue and profit is what you want to find out. But what are the key performance indicators? These are the region wise total revenues or region wise profits. So this region wise is the main indicator that what is the sales which is going on region wise. Yes or no? Second, it can also be country wise sales. Okay, country wise revenue and profits, right? It can also be sales channel wise profits. Yes or no? So which channel is selling more, right? Then item wise profits and this thing, right? So you will see that these main regions, countries, items, channels are the main indicators which a particular person would like to see on that dashboard, because this is a global company, right? So first find out the key performance indicators. So the key performance indicators here is regions, countries, item types, and sales channels. All right, fine, done. Now the second step is that you will have to create pivot tables. Got it? Now pivot tables also, when you are creating pivot tables, you know last time that we used timelines and slicers also. Remember? Yes. So timeline means this date, order dates will come in the pivot table as it is. Yes, because there is a timeline. We want to first find out the timeline. You remember I told you that whenever you look at the data, first look at the timeline. And under which time zone or timeline, not time zone actually, timeline is the work being done. How many years, how many months this data is for, right? So that is the number one thing that you have to remember. So timelines are available. So date is always going to come inside that particular pivot table also. It's going to come into the dashboard also. All right. Now the second one is that we had slicers also. Yes. So since I have too many performance indicators, I can actually select one or two columns as a slicer instead of putting everything inside a dashboard. So some I can put it as slicers, some I can put it inside that particular data, all right, inside the pivot tables. So let us decide what can be done. So if you are taking the regions, then you may not need the countries. Okay. If you are using the countries, maybe you don't need the regions. So this is one of the things that you can actually skip. Got it? Then this either one of it can be kept it as a slicer. All right. Okay. Okay. Now again here we need so let us consider countries, because if we don't understand too much of regions, then let's consider as countries, country wise sales or country wise profits. Got it? Right? Okay. So we have understood our data as of now. आपण आता थोडंसं एक we have created a time a sort of a layout, a plan that I want key performance indicators. Which are they? So here I'm selecting countries. Okay. I'm selecting the item types. Okay. And in the filters, that is the slicers, I'm going to put sales channels. Okay. And need be regions also. Okay. I have the order date as my particular timeline. Done. So this is our basic plan. Okay. So first you are supposed to identify all the important things that you want to find out. Got it? In sales data, normally the columns which you are seeing, they are always mostly the key performance indicators. Got it? Okay. Now, second step, as I told you, is creating pivot tables. So if I wanted to create a dashboard over here only, I can just select a point over here, or else I can give a new sheet wherein I'm going to create the dashboard. So let me create a dashboard somewhere else on the next sheet, right? Okay. So let's go ahead with a pivot table first. So we select the pivot table, which is the data. So now you are going to select this as your data. Yes or no? And needless to say, by now, if you have converted this into a format as table, then it is easy to select that entire table. So first you have selected this particular data, and I had already selected that particular existing worksheet, means this particular dashboard. So I'm not going to select separately. Here it is. I have got this particular pivot tables, right? Now for me, the region was not important. I'm selecting the countries over here. And country wise, what I wanted was the total revenues and the profits. So I can select both of them. All right, fine. Here. Now, the first step is creating the pivot table, right? You can actually go ahead creating uh, copies of that pivot table. So the third step is that create multiple pivot tables. Means what? Copy the existing pivot table in 3 different places or 4 different places. जितके तुमचे परफॉर्मन्स इंडिकेटर्स आहेत तितके. So the number of performance indicators. So here we selected 2 to 3 performance indicators, right? So we are going to go ahead with 3 pivot tables. So I already created one pivot table. I'm going to just copy this and I'm going to place it a bit to the side, and I'm going to paste this. So what happens is I get a second pivot table, and it's the same thing, isn't it? It's the same pivot table because I've just copy pasted it. But now in this pivot table, I did not want the country. I just wanted the item types. So item type wise, revenues and profits is what I have got over here. Yes. Now I'll create another pivot table. So let me select this pivot table and create one more. So I'll just keep the cursor here and I'll paste. Now I wanted, say, maybe sales channel wise also. So I selected sales channel wise. I removed the item type. All right. So this is one of the things. Now, suppose you wanted to keep sales channel as the slicer, you can always do that. All right. So I can select region instead of that particular sales channel. Yes. So I have the countries also, I have the regions also, I have the particular items also. So if you look at this uh, deeply, you will see that Albania in this particular country, this particular revenue was obtained and this much of profit was obtained. All right. And in categories of items, the baby food was this much and profits were this much, right? And for this region, the Asia region was this much, Europe was this much, and so on and so forth, right? So you have these three different metrics where you can see. So now what we are doing is we are trying to create a dashboard, means we are trying to create one particular place where you can see all the regions, every factor on in one place only. All right. Okay. Now comes the time of the slicers and also the timelines. All right. Now, suppose you wanted to find out the slicers timelines, you can just click on any one of this particular table and you can actually put the slicer or a timeline. Now, slicer timelines are floating. All right. So since they are floating, you can actually keep them anywhere on the screen. Yes. Just for ease purpose, what I'll do is I will just give some place in the top. All right. Okay, so now you have some place for the slicers. Okay, so you have these tables, you have some place for the slicers at the top, right? So select any one particular pivot table. It can be any one, okay? So you can select any one pivot table and you can first insert those slicers. So the next step is inserting slicers and timelines. So here I'm selecting the timeline because timelines, as I told you, are important. You need to see which time you are checking your data for. Now here shipping date is not important. This particular order date is important for us to know at when it was ordered. All right. Shipping dates are also useful, but then we are going to track as per when it was ordered. Got it? And so I created one particular timeline for this particular data. Got it? Okay. I'm selecting the same pivot table and now I'm creating the slicer. So I'm going ahead with this an analysis and insert a slicer. Now, as I told you, slicers can be on the channels. So I put the channels as slicers. I took region, countries, and items, and I put sales channel as the slicer. So I can just rearrange this just to make it visibly good like this. Can you see? Okay. So the basic construction is what we are doing over here just now. Yes. Okay. Now every data, okay, every pivot table, if you look at the numbers, it becomes very difficult to see. So let us create some graphs also. All right. Now for graphs, now what I always suggest is create the graphs at the top also over here. The reason is that if you create the graph after this or below this, when you change the values, the table may extend and it overflows. And then your graph comes here and there. So you can keep your graphs at the top again over here, right? Okay. Now, what are the graphs for this region? I wanted to region wise, sorry, country wise, I wanted one particular graph. For item wise, I wanted another graph. Okay. And your particular region wise, you wanted one more graph. So the next step is creating graphs. So select that pivot table, go to the pivot table, analyze, go to the pivot chart, and select your particular chart. Now your charts are column, line, pie, bar. Select the pivot, the column chart, because that is most easiest to understand. So column, line, pie, and bar, these are the most easiest to understand. You can select the column chart and click on OK. You get this particular graph. Yes. So this graph is that of the country wise sales or revenues and profits. Can you see? Okay. Right. If you wanted this more clear, what you can do is give more space to it, right? So that you can see this properly. So if you increase this size, you can also see this particular. The blue lines are the total revenues and the orange lines are the profits. All right, fine. Okay. Because we have found out this uh, revenue and profit, so it's going to show you two series, one blue and one orange. Okay. What are the revenues and what are the profits out of this? Now for this table, we have created one graph. Let us create the graph for this table also, right? So every table, you are going to create a separate pivot chart. People call it as pivot or they call it as pivot. It's your choice. You are just going to place it accordingly. Give it space so that it is readable, because your graphs are more descriptive. See, numbers are there, but people cannot see the numbers in minute ways. If the data is too huge, then it becomes very difficult to see that particular data. What is the result that it is showing? Have you understood? Right? So we have created one graph for this table, one graph for this table, and the third graph now for this table. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just select this table, the third one, and I'll go ahead in the pivot table analyze and create another pivot chart for this. And here I get this pivot chart. Here it is. If I increase this, got it? So now you have got all the necessary things of a dashboard, right? But the problem is that even if this timeline and these slicers are going to govern, means what? If I say I want to see the offline sales, so what is happening is I can see the offline sales only in this, not in this. Actually, this is not happening over here. याला जागा मिळत नाहीये म्हणून ते इकडे तिकडे ऍडजस्ट करायचा प्रयत्न करते. But in reality, it is not showing all the sales. Okay. There is a change only in this table. So let me show you this way. Huh? I'll just reduce the size. So by reducing the size, you will understand that this is as it is. The effect is happening only on this table. Let's see that. Can you see? Offline sales, online sales. This is remaining as it is. Means what? That we have created the design of the dashboard, but there is no actual connection between the slicers and timelines with all this data. And so it is not dynamic. So when I say dynamic means what? I wanted, if I change any one parameter, I should be able to see it everywhere. म्हणजे मला जर ऑफलाईन सेल्स बघायचे असतील तर मला ऑफलाईन सेल्स ऑफ रिजन्स, कंट्रीज, आयटम्स सगळं एकसाथ दिसायला पाहिजे. येते लक्षात? Right? So in that context, what happens is that we have to yet create the connections. we have not connected these timelines and slicers with this particular data. So the next step is creating connections between timelines, slicers, and the pivot data, pivot tables. Creating timelines, slicers, and connecting timelines and slicers with the pivot tables. Okay, so let's see how to do that. Okay, now if you look at this particular slicer, this is a slicer, right? If you right click this slicer, you have the report connections option over here. Can you see? Report connections. Okay. Now, when you click on the report connections, it is telling you I am connected to currently pivot table 1 and I want you to connect me to pivot table 2 and 3 also. Can you see? Right click karo na. So I'm connecting it to pivot table 2 and I'm also connecting to pivot table 3. Did you understand what I have done? I have selected this particular slicer. I right click the slicer and I report the connections. Reporting connections, I see that the connection is only to pivot table 1. I'm going to connect it to pivot table 2 and 3 also. Got it? Okay. So now this has got connected, this particular timeline has got connected to all the 3 pivot tables. Okay. Now is the slicer. Now this slicer, right click on this slicer and report connections of these also. Can you see? So you have connection with pivot table 1. We have to connect it with pivot table 2 and 3 also. Got it? Right? And clicked on OK. So now your entire connections are done. Got it? Right? Now let's see what happens. Look at all the graphs, huh? Because the numbers are as it is going to change, but look at the graphs now because graphs will give you a direct idea. All right. I wanted to see which all years are there. So I can see that this data is spanning over 2010 till 2017. So you remember I told you that your timelines are very important. Which data are you seeing is important, right? So suppose I wanted to see only 2017 data, you will see the change in the entire status. This is what has happened in 2017. Okay, the total profits, the total revenues that has come. If you keep the cursors on the graph, you will directly see for Bangladesh, for Djibouti, this is for Honduras, and this is for Gambia. So different countries. Okay. So this offline, online, both the cells, this is the scenario. This is the situation. For what? For 2017. Can you see? So this is for 2017. Got it? For 2016, what was the scenario? This was the situation. Right? 2015, what was the situation? Now you don't have to sit and calculate every time. No running with the pivot tables also. Pivot tables मध्ये सारखे चेंजेस करा, रिजन प्रमाणे बघा, याच्याप्रमाणे बघा, हे सगळं करायची गरज नाहीये तुम्हाला. Yes, right? 2014, there you get the data. So now, directly by looking at this particular data, you can say that the maximum work which has happened means the total profits, the revenue in Honduras was the maximum, and so the profits. If the revenue was high, the profit was also high. Can you see over here? Right? In item wise, if you look at the biggest item, this is the household items were the maximum. Okay. The maximum profits, maximum revenue came from the household items. Okay. Second was from meat. Okay. Third was the revenue was from cereals. So this particular company was a store. Maybe it's something like DMart, wherein it has all the material and it is being sold. All right. Fine. So you get a better idea over here. And here coming over here, which region means Asia, Africa, America, which region is this selling the most? So you will see that Central America, Caribbean, this particular place, there was maximum sales and profits. So maximum money that we got was total revenue that we got was from this particular Central America and Caribbean. Second was from Sub-Saharan African places. Okay. So just by creating this particular dashboards, you can get the complete status of your complete data, okay, on one page. This is called as a dashboard. All right. And the parts of the dashboards are this much only. Then whatever you put is all cosmetic. मला ते रंग छान दिसावे याच्यासाठी म्हणून तुम्ही जे काय कराल तर ते कराल. So suppose you wanted to keep the company name and logo and everything over here, give some place to it. You can put the company logo. So you had the company logo in the form of pictures. You can see that under illustrations, you have different kinds of pictures that you can put. Okay. So when you click on the picture, you can place it in a cell or over the cells. I'm putting it on the cells because there are many cells over here. I just pick up any one small picture over here. Let's say this was Pepsi and this was the logo of my company. Okay. I could put the name of that particular company also by giving it a space. Here I can merge and center because it is not related to the data. Okay. So I used merge and center and I use this. Sizes you can increase. You can directly increase the size over here. There it is. Right. So these are all cosmetic changes that you can do over here. Right. So now if you look at the overall picture, this data is that of Pepsi. This is the scenario. This is their sales and profits which are going on. Got it? Right. Now 2017, only offline sales. What was the scenario? You can see that when I click on offline, you will see the data has completely changed. In 2017, offline sales were in Honduras and Costa Rica only. Only household items and personal care items were sold. And that was the revenue that we got from that particular items. And here Central Caribbean, American, this thing, we are getting the offline sales. And online sales were many. In different countries, there were different online sales. Can you see? So just by creating, see, pivot table is already giving you good reports. It is giving you good information, which you are supposed to sit and understand what and where, what those numbers are telling you. But a dashboard becomes more dynamic and you can compare multiple values at the same time on one screen. Okay. That is the meaning of this particular dashboard. So now you need to follow some steps to do this particular dashboard. So only if you know the pivot tables, only if you know the pivot charts, you will be able to do a dashboard, right? Right. So you'll try this out just now at your data. Chalo, let's try it out. You can also use a food sales data or your regular data of sales. You cannot run it on Marklist. Why? Because Marklist does not have the repetitive categories type. Yes. So there are two different types of data, right? Remember, one is the Marklist type wherein you don't have any categories. Unique marks for unique subjects. Yes. So there you just cannot summarize. There is nothing called a summary in that kind of data. But when it is a sales data, then you have a summary. Got it? Right? एकदा करून बघणार? Okay, चलो, let's try that out.